Welcome back to Sandra Sells Tells, Real Estate, Real People, Real Plymouth. Today's episode is one that truly hits home because real estate isn't just about buying and selling houses, it's about life transitions, families, and sometimes some of the hardest moments that we go through. Today I'm joined by Tina Hughes, founder of Hughes Health and Wellness, specializing in dementia care, primary care, foot services to seniors who live in assisted living facilities, and so much more. But when we get to her, I will let her talk about that. Tina brings with her compassion, clarity, and dignity to patients and families navigating serious illness, end-of-life care, and everything in between. And today, we're going to talk about what hospice and palliative care really mean, because there are a lot of misconceptions, and having the right support can make all the difference for the families. This is one of those conversations that everyone should hear, whether you need it now or in the future. So welcome, Tina.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here, and met you in our travels and seen you in the work that you do. And I work with seniors as well, too. So it's just nice to see everything that you offer. And I know I mentioned a few of them, but you have so much more that you kind of specialize into. Do you want to talk about that first? So you specialize in dementia care, primary care, foot services.
That's the bucket of what I do. So primary care is the focus, right? All of our patients are primary care. They are seniors that live in assisted living communities. So I offer a house calls practice. And it's myself, and I have other nurse practitioners that work for me, as well as an admin staff. Female-owned, family-run business. So all three of my daughters work for me, which is really great. And so, yes, primary care is the bulk of what I do. And then we specialize in dementia care, and what that looks like is symptoms of dementia. The vast majority of our patients live on secure memory care units, and they are exhibiting some form of symptom in dementia, or many at once: anxiety, hallucinations, dementia, delusions, combative behaviors, physical aggression, and we help medicate that, essentially. There are different triggers we identify. It's not always medication. Sometimes it's a caregiver approach that we're able to pick out what's going on, and other times medication is needed.
Excellent. And you said mostly in assisted livings. Let me start out. Do you do any of people in their homes if they're not quite in assisted livings, or do you just focus on communities like that?
Primarily, we focus on assisted living communities, but the caveat to that is that if there is a patient that's living in their home and they need to move into an assisted living and they have already secured a spot within that assisted living, we will go in and we will stabilize that resident. Oftentimes, we do this often. There is a person that's living in their home and they're aggressive and combative, and they're just not quite stable enough to live in that social setting and that, with a multitude of people living all in one area. So we will go in and we will stabilize that person so that they can then move into the assisted living.
Very good. And I know that you guys also do hospice care and palliative care, correct?
Yes. So our approach is palliative approach. Okay. So what that looks like is that, again, these are seniors, right, which the majority of them have 6 or more comorbid conditions. And so our approach is, again, very palliative. I don't own a hospice agency, but our approach is very palliative, which all hospice is palliative, but not all palliative is hospice. And so if I could just explain that for a minute.
Yeah, please do.
So for someone to be on hospice care, they have to have a life expectancy of 6 months or less, should that disease take that trajectory. So that's to qualify you for the hospice benefit. Though our approach is palliative. So what palliative means is that you're treating symptoms. You're not more so curative. You can't cure congestive heart failure. You can't cure COPD, things of that nature. And so the palliative approach is to treat symptoms so that people can remain comfortable in their home. And that is the focal point of our practice.
So you're helping them figure out what's the best path for them to be on and for you to help in the care that they need in that. So they may not be ready for hospice, but you may be able to make them comfortable. And
that's exactly right. So it's very comfort focused. A tremendous amount of goals of care and end-of-life conversations. And some people are ready for those conversations, and other people, you have to tread lightly, you have to go slow, you have to meet them and their families where they're at. Variety of situations where the patient themselves is ready to go, but their family's
not ready to let
is
go.
not ready for that. And so that is a huge component of our practice, which I think absolutely sets us apart from anybody else in the sense of our focus not only on the patient themselves, but on the family. There's a lot of caregiver support that we give.
Which is huge, because I think that's a hard part, that caregiving is one of the hardest, and people don't realize that unless they're in that role. And even in that role, they still can't see past that because they're just caring for their loved one. I can see a little bit how we overlap in what we do, because I'm often working with families trying to figure it out. Do we move? Do we stay in the home? Do we right size somewhere else? And what's even possible right now? And then where you guys come in, you're helping them figure out that confusion as well too. What type of care do they really need? Are they good in this environment, or they need to go in another environment that's safer or more
medical?
Yeah, definitely medical too, but also it takes some relief off of the family.
Yes,
because it's so much. And I mean, I know that from a personal standpoint with my father, when he had dementia, and keeping him home was very tough on the families that were there. But
and a lot of times in these situations, children are so busy in their own lives that they're really not up to date on really the complexity and the severity of these chronic illnesses. And so that's the other whole piece of, I can see it through labs, and I can see it through as my patient is progressing through their disease. But families a lot of times aren't up to date in those for a variety of reasons. I mean, dignity is a big factor here, and privacy, and seniors do not like to lose their loss of independence. And so because of that, lose their independence, a lot of people don't know. Their children don't know what's actually going on with their parents. So,
because their parents don't always tell them.
Yes.
So very true. What would you say is one of the biggest struggles that you see families when facing these types of decisions?
The biggest struggle is coming from their place of love and not being able to let their loved one go for themselves, and having that hard time of stepping outside of themselves, right, in their own pain, and coming from a place of, yes, it's going to make me so sad to make this decision, whether it's to enter hospice care, right? Or to just treat more palliatively as opposed to treating curatively and looking for a cure. It is very hard for a loved one to step outside of their own pain and make a decision of what is either what the patient wants or what is in their best interest. Because
for their mom or dad.
Yeah, a lot of our residents have dementia. And so that's another whole conversation about filling out the MOLST and the healthcare proxies. And it's things that people should do really early on, so that, again, the MOLST is the big pink form, which is talking about your advanced directives. Do you want CPR? Do you want to be intubated? Do you want dialysis? Those types of things, very specific medical treatments. And in my practice, we complete the MOLST and the healthcare proxy by the second visit. And it is so important to do that, because I've seen so often that things change very quickly, right? We don't have a crystal ball when somebody's going to change for the worse overnight.
Always crisis mode.
Always crisis mode. And so it's incredibly crucial, important to have those two pieces of paper in place when the person, the patient, can make their own decisions and be clear. And if someone has it,
planning now.
Yes, because you don't want to be making those decisions in a crisis. That's the worst time to do it.
Yeah.
And so even if my patient has advanced dementia, we do it by the second visit with the healthcare proxy, because everything's good, you're clear, You've got no crisis there that's pulling on your emotions, things of that nature. So,
yeah, that's very good. That was kind of like going to dive into my next question about that, is about planning and being practical about it. And you just hit the nail on the head. Like, you have to have those conversations ahead of time while they are clear, if they are clear, or if their caregiver is, who might have the power of attorney. But so families need to prepare ahead of time for those situations, is what I'm hearing. And I just know from personal experience as well, too. But when care, all right, so say somebody has already got those plans in place, mom or dad has dementia, is in a community, like that, either with memory care, or maybe they're just starting the early signs of dementia and they're still in assisted living. All of a sudden, care needs to be coordinated. Who's involved in those pieces? Do you know what I'm asking?
I do. So the care plans, so any assisted living is a social model. It's not a medical model.
Yep.
And that's a really big misconception out there as well. Is a lot of people.
That. Yeah.
I'll take a minute because I think it's really important. So assisted livings do an amazing job. I think it is one of the best places for seniors to live for a variety of reasons. One is the socialization, the care, and there's so much dignity that is offered through that in that care. But it's a social setting. It's a social model. It's not a medical model. So what that means is that there are nurses that work there, but they cannot operate to the fullest extent of their scope because they are in a social model. Very different than if somebody were in a skilled nursing home. They can work. Those nurses can work to the fullest extent of their scope because it's a medical model. So think of an assisted living, though there are some regulations that are changing that are going to be affording a little bit more medical pieces to it. But at the end of the day, they're more of care managers. They help coordinate the care in a lot of ways, right?
Right.
And so they do offer some nursing care, but again, it's not to the extent of their scope. And so with that being said, it is the staff of the assisted living that helps coordinate that. And then it's with the help of my practice, my nurse practitioners. What we do is it's a full collaborative approach between building that care plan with the nursing team there, as well as talking with the family members. Because again, it's this full...
it's not just one person making that decision.
Correct. It's a very collaborative approach.
Which is great that you're able to do that. So if they're in a community and the medical staff is realizing that they're needing more assistance, that's when you guys get the call.
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
Yes.
So what inspired you to start Hughes Health and Wellness?
A little bit of twofold. So
Okay.
I had started off as an LPN working at a skilled nursing home here locally on Cape Cod.
Okay.
Loved the job, but knew I wanted to be a visiting nurse. And so I went back to school for my RN. I'm one of those people that climb the ladder through every aspect of nursing, and I have the student loans to prove it. And so got my RN, then worked for a local visiting nursing agency here in town that does visiting nursing to people's in their homes as well as in assisted living. And so it was through being in the assisted living that I really fell in love with that whole collaborative approach. Went and became a director of nursing in an assisted living. And then through that, I developed this crazy love for people with dementia. And most importantly, seeing how there was really nothing out there to treat their symptoms, to give them a better quality of life. Not only to give them a better quality of life, but to enhance the quality of life with their spouses and their children, because there's two sides, right? It's not just the person with the dementia that's suffering. It's their family that's suffering with them, with that loss of who they were. And then through that, I decided, you know what? I want more autonomy with this, and I want to be a nurse practitioner so that I can have more autonomy in treatment. Went to school to treat and became a nurse practitioner, and I was loving it. And then I went on a trip with my whole family to St. John. I was coming back on the boat, leaving the island, and I was sobbing. I was so sad. And I was sad because I just had the best week of my life with my husband and our children. We have 3 daughters, so you can imagine 3 girls together, it had to have been special if I was crying to leave, right?
Sure.
And
they're trying to get home.
I looked at my PTO time, and I had 18 hours left. And that's when I was like, there is no way that a company is going to be able to dictate when I can feel this joy again. And came home and opened my practice.
Good for you. Good for you. Family is so important.
Yeah.
And just that work-life balance as well, too, that, you can find those moments of joy and be with your family. So you started Hughes Health and Wellness, and you've been running off the ground, and you're doing very well so far, and you have other nurse practitioners on your staff, which is amazing. And I know that you've added other services like foot services, correct? So what does that mean, foot services? What can you guys do?
Full foot care. So I have a foot care nurse. Huge. I'm certified as well. I hired a foot care nurse. And so it's not your typical podiatry care where they just go in and they clip the nails. The nurse that works for my practice, Megan, is really loving it so much. She's developed all natural tinctures for their feet. Mm-hmm. But it's full, beautiful, 30 to 45 minutes it takes her on people's feet. And they feel so loved and pampered. But from the medical piece of it is that the majority of these people have an unsteady gait to begin with. They walk very unsteady. Lots of them have walkers. And so in feet pain and circulatory issues and things of that nature. And so the foot care that she does really helps alleviate a lot of the foot pain. So then there's reduction in falls and just an overall quality of...
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we saw that as such a need. There weren't many people that were going in. And if there were people that were going in, they really weren't doing the greatest job. And so we really wanted... I always think of when I think about a service line that I'm adding to my practice, it is, where do I need to add more value? Where can there be more value to the people that I serve? And this was like right off the top of my head. I knew that we had to do this.
And who doesn't like to have their feet rubbed, right?
Yes.
It's like a luxury. And I think as people age and they're in that and they just don't, and they get neglected so much. So if they're having that pain, and I suffer from plantar fasciitis sometimes now too. So I get that foot pain and I hate it.
Yes.
So imagine, a senior dealing with something like that they've had for so long, and just having, everybody likes to be taken care of, or felt like they're being taken care of. So the fact that you guys can offer that, and just from what I've heard in, some communities you've been in, you don't rush it. You take your time with them, which I think is
it's not about the money, it's about the service.
Right. So. And taking that time to really talk to them and get to know them. So without violating any privacy, can you share a story that has stuck with you since you guys opened your practice?
Many, but I'll share the most recent.
Okay.
Is I had a woman who did not have full-blown dementia. She had the beginning stages cognitive impairment. I'll call her Mary. And Mary was my primary care patient, and I always do labs when I bring people onto service. And then she'd gone through maybe 6 months of being on services with me, and she had developed pneumonia, and she had developed COVID, and she just wasn't bouncing back. And so I said, let's get some labs and see what else. And it had only been about maybe 6-7 months since the last time I had done labs. Well, within that time frame, she had developed stage 4 liver cancer.
Oh my gosh!
And
wow,
yeah. And so one of the joys of my practice is that I'm in the living room of these people, right? So it's a very personal relationship. So we have very personal conversations. And Mary has shared with me a lot of personal things, and one of which is that she always had a troubled relationship with her daughter. And it was that she felt a lack of connection. She felt like she just couldn't connect with her. So through the dying process, I had an opportunity to spend time with Mary's daughter. And Mary had said to me, the daughter had said to me that I felt like my mom never really understood me. Mm. And I said, what's funny is that, she had shared with me that she felt like there was this lack of connection. And so through conversations, I was able to bridge the gap between the two at end of life And in the beginning, when Mary was passing, the daughter had stayed away because she felt like there was this loss of connection, right?
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
through the conversations that I had had with Mary, I was able to share, what Mary actually really felt about the daughter. And the daughter was there at end of life. And that was exactly what made Mary so happy.
Oh, I love that. You're going to make me cry here.
Yeah.
It's stories like that, though, that do stay with you and that you're able to be part of that and help that family. Because oftentimes, I think where your role probably comes in is that you are helping and guiding the families with those, emotions. It's a lot of emotions. Everybody has family. Every family has stuff, and, barriers of communication break down over the years. And, so a lot of times I've noticed that older generation, doesn't speak up. Everything was swept underneath the rug, wasn't dealt with. So they probably never wanted confrontations, with their children or adult children. And, nowadays, I think most of us are much more vocal and speak up more than our parents did. And so it's hard in that generation that's what they know and that's what their parents knew. And so to bring it all back and to be able to be there for them, sadly she was passing away, but they were still able to have that connection before she went.
I know, and she died. So what a lot of people don't know is that there's not only the physical pain with death, but there's the spiritual pain. And so yes, we can medicate the physical pain, but the spiritual pain of whether it is dying with a conflict with a family member or feeling guilt that you didn't do something a certain way or guilt for something that you did or fear that you're not ready to go or there's just a variety of things or not realizing your life's purpose. That's one of the other really unique things about our practice. My practice is that dignity and death through death. And so really helping people not only die physically pain-free, but to help alleviate spiritual pain. And so that's not something that you do overnight, right?
No.
So these are like the conversations, the relationship that we build with
and
our
that
patients.
Trust that you have with them.
Exactly, so that we really get to know them. So then as they're dying, like we know exactly what pain needs to be relieved, especially when I know that I'm given, I'm writing the orders for morphine, but they still are restless and agitated. There's spiritual pain there that really needs to be resolved.
Yeah.
And so because of that relationship that we built, oftentimes we're able to figure out what that is and help that person cross over with not only physical peace, but with spiritual peace, which is really,
I love that.
That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Dying peacefully.
And that's what we all want.
Yes.
So if someone out there is listening, and I know you guys are, what is a takeaway that you want somebody to take from this conversation? If you could just, one thing you want them to take away. You've given so much little tidbits. This is great about what you guys do, but what's one thing that you want people to take away from today's conversation?
Life is never what you plan it to be. Every single person, I will tell you, because there's a spouse on the other side of someone with dementia, and I can't even tell you how many times the spouse has said to me, this is not what I thought my retirement was going to be. And we wait and we wait and we wait until we retire. We think that we have time. We do not have time.
Life is short.
Yes.
I say it all the time. Life is short. Book the trip.
Yes.
But also plan, and it's never too early to plan.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about that with the next guest that I have on about planning and being prepared for all of those things. But it's been super helpful having you on here with all these tidbits. And I always end my podcast with the key of the week. And I never know how our conversations are going to flow, but I write down the key of the week before we start. And this kind of fits in with a lot of what you were saying. My key of the week this week is have the conversation before you need the conversation. Whether it's healthcare wishes, living situations, or future plans, the greatest gift you can give your family is clarity. Avoiding the topic doesn't protect anyone. It just makes things harder later. Start small, be honest, and make sure your loved ones know what matters most to you. Thank you so much, Tina, for sharing your knowledge, your insight, your heart, your incredible work that you do through Hughes Health and Wellness. I know they're not easy conversations, but they are important. Anyone listening and everyone listening, if this episode resonated with you, share it with someone you might think would like to hear it. You truly never know who's going through something quietly. Isn't that the truth, right? And if you're enjoying Sandra Sells and Tells, and you be sure to follow along, like, and share these episodes. It helps more people find these conversations and keeps these important topics going. This is Sandra Sells and Tells, real estate, real people, real Plymouth. We're beyond the sale of the sold sign. We talk about important conversations like this. Sometimes the most important moves in life aren't about real estate. It's about taking care of the people that we love. Until next time, stay tuned, subscribe, and like.